Trump reciprocal tariffs usher in economic uncertainty. So, the recent announcement about increasing tariffs is quite significant, isn't it?
Absolutely. The idea is to create fairness by matching U.S. tariffs to those of other countries.
Right, but that could lead to higher prices for American consumers, as they would likely bear the cost of these tariffs.
Exactly. A trade expert noted that this approach might reflect a misunderstanding of the global economy.
And the potential for retaliation from other nations could escalate the situation further, right?
Yes, other countries might respond with their own tariff increases, creating a cycle of economic tension.
It's interesting that trade between the US and Europe was nearly $1.3 trillion last year, with a significant trade deficit.
Indeed, the U.S. exported $267 billion less than it imported, which is a big factor in this discussion.
And the administration plans to use factors like value-added taxes and subsidies to assess these new tariffs?
That's correct. These factors could significantly influence the tariff rates imposed.
It sounds like a high-stakes situation for Trump, especially with inflation concerns looming.
Indeed, if inflation rises and growth slows, it could backfire on the administration's agenda.
So, it seems like Trump has been quite aggressive with tariffs lately, especially targeting China. What do you think about that?
It's definitely a bold move. The additional 10% tariff on Chinese imports is largely due to their role in producing fentanyl, which is a significant concern.
And what about the tariffs on Canada and Mexico? Those are America's largest trading partners, right?
Exactly. The proposed tariffs could take effect soon, and that could really disrupt trade relationships that have been stable for years.
I read that the EU, Canada, and Mexico are preparing countermeasures. How might that affect the US economy?
It could lead to a trade war, which would likely hurt growth and increase prices for consumers. The potential for retaliatory tariffs is a significant risk.
And Trump believes these tariffs will create fairness in trade. Is that realistic?
It's a complex situation. While the administration argues that equalizing import taxes could raise revenue, it may also lead to inflation, which impacts consumers directly.
Speaking of inflation, I've heard that the Consumer Price Index is currently at an annual rate of 3%. How does that tie into these policies?
That's right. Higher tariffs could contribute to inflation, and the president is banking on voters being tolerant of that. It's a risky political strategy.
What do analysts say about the long-term effects of these tariffs?
Analysts from Wells Fargo have suggested that tariffs could hurt growth this year, but extended tax cuts might help recovery in the future.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act. Will these policies lead to a wider trade conflict?
That's a possibility. If not managed carefully, it could stifle investment and hiring, especially in an inflationary environment.